Minutes before 7 o'clock here on the early edition. You're listening to CBC Radio 1, 690 on your AM dial and 88.1 on your FM band here in Metro Vancouver. Members of BC's Métis Nation want their elected leaders to resign. They say their government is on a path to bankruptcy. Keith Henry is the former CEO of the BC Métis Nation. He works now as the CEO of Aboriginal Business BC, and he speaks on behalf of the Coalition of Concerned Métis Citizens. He's on the line with us now. Keith, good morning.
Yes, thank you for having me on the show this morning.
Why do you think the Métis government is in financial trouble?
Well, it's been developing for some time, and I think that we've been reviewing the financials over the last basically 2 years, and this last year was really the telltale sign. We recently had the Métis Nation British Columbia Annual General Meeting in September, late September, and we had been asking a number of citizens for the financial statements from the last fiscal year, and finally they released it basically, very shortly before the AGM. And we believe that was for a specific reason, and one of the reasons that it came out in the statements was simply that it was brought to everyone's reality that as of last March, there were $1,788,000 in organizational debt, and this isn't a large nation in the sense of finances. It's about a $10 million organization a year, give or take. And, it's when you get into that situation with that kind of debt in a non-profit society that's not known to the citizens, it's a very serious situation, to say the least.
So you had an independent review of the spending done?
Well, we looked at it as ourselves, and then we had an independent accountant take a look at it, and we actually saw that the debt was $1,700,000. He confirmed it, and then we also took a look at what was the financial risk and within the statements, because that was just the bottom line figure. And there were some other interesting facts that we noted, and there was a number of things. It wasn't just the debt was $1.78 million. As of March 31st, they were carrying $3,558,000 in a line of credit.
Where did the money go then? What sort of financial decisions did the Métis BC government make that you think are unwise?
Well, one of them, the big one, is that they overspent in administration last year. According to their own statements, they ran admin at around 20%, which is, in my experience, I've seen anyways, that's not really appropriate. Usually organizations carry an admin expenditure level about 10 to 15%, and the biggest part of that, they ran 20%. They actually overspent in administration alone $965,000 more than they had. So that was a big part of why they went into so much debt last year. And to do that is from a I guess a financial management perspective is completely irresponsible.
And I understand they also bought a school in Abbotsford, correct?
Yes, they did buy a school in Abbotsford, and I think that's another part that leads to other issues as it stands today. As of November 30th was the last time we looked, there was $230,000 in outstanding taxes, one of them being the property transfer tax when they originally bought the school. It's unclear if that's been paid yet. That was about $106,000.
Why did they buy the school in the first place, do you know?
Well, we don't know. They went ahead and bought a school without proper consultation, and I know that from their perspective, they've been telling people, we did consultation. Well, they didn't do consultation with the communities. They went and bought a school, and 4 months later, in 2009, at the AGM at that time, they said, by the way, we bought a school, and there was a belief that there was going to be stimulus funding they were going to get, and they were going to make all this money from a catering company, and on and on and on where the story's been told. But as we fast forward to 2 years later, we can see that the reality is that's bankrupting our nation.
How are the Métis leaders responding to your calls now for transparency?
Well, it's the Métis Nation. There's three levels of government. There's the community level, there's regional governance, and there's the provincial level. And really what we've got is the provincial level just, dictating what they're going to do downwards. And the community leaders, I think we've been trying to get our message out as a number of citizens supporting the coalition about, it's time for us to take responsibility. You can't just let leaders run around and with a blank checkbook and do whatever they want. And this is exactly what happens. And this isn't the first time in British Columbia. It's unfortunate because there's many proud Métis people that leadership continues to do this again and again and again. It's actually the fourth time this has happened since the 90s.
Keith Henry, thank you for your time this morning.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity.
Keith Henry, the CEO of Aboriginal Business BC. Now, to respond, we're joined this morning by Melanie Langthorne, who is the CEO of the Métis Nation of BC. Good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having me on.
Is your organization in debt?
Not unlike Canada, we're facing an economic hardship. It's not different for the Métis people here in British Columbia. I wanted to speak to a few comments that Mr. Henry made. I don't know if you're aware that Mr. Henry is the former CEO of the Métis Nation, British Columbia. They did conduct an independent review. We're not sure really who this accountant is, and we can assure you that they did not have all the information, not our deficit recovery plan or information from our business plans or any of the potential revenues from the businesses to come up with these figures. So, we've spent the past decade building our governments. We've been supported by government provincially and federally. However, the funding that was provided was really here to build our governance and not maintain it. And it's MNBC's goal to work towards self-sustainability, and that's really only possible through economic development. It's necessary in the meantime to continue to support this governance, our Senate, some of our women, our veterans, and other ministries and areas where funding may not have been available in this last year like it has been in the past. And we did do consulting with our communities when we purchased the Métis Skills and Employment Center. There is a full business plan that was presented to our communities all across the province. We are launching a new catering company, which will be launching in January. Both companies had extensive business plans, implementation plans, marketing plans, which have been shared with our communities. The CCMC has been extended invitations to attend. However, they did not and continue to claim that MNBC is not sharing information.
What is CCMC?
That's the Coalition of Concerned Métis Citizens, in which Keith Henry has recently stated he is now the official spokesperson for.
Now, if I stop you right there, because one of the big investments is this school. You bought a school in Abbotsford. What was your plan to finance that?
We did purchase the school. The school was originally being sold for about $4.8 million. MNBC did write a proposal to the federal and provincial government. We were able, with support of the province of BC, to purchase the facility for $2.2 million, which is now well valued over $5 million. It was the first land purchase for the Métis people in BC, our first real investment, and already we have, $1 million contracts from the federal and provincial government to provide training to our Métis people. We do provide training to Aboriginal and non. We had a school for 3 years previous to this where we've been providing carpentry training to fill some of the labor shortages that were happening in British Columbia. We've been highly successful, had many students that we've been able to help create jobs for, and are continue to move forward.
That doesn't answer the question. How do you pay for it? The coalition says that you're counting on unpromised federal stimulus money to pay for this. Is that true?
The stimulus funding was there to support the renovations of the school. MNBC did invest some money. Right now, the school is currently self-sustainable through the programs and revenues that we have through tuition and funding provided by the government.
It's self-sustainable? You're paying out the $2.2 million?
Absolutely. Monthly, we're paying our mortgage. It's self-sustaining. We've closed down our Vancouver office. We were at a high rent, $20,000 a month. Some of the steps we've taken was closing down that office. Our office is located in Abbotsford with our finance department in Surrey. Our annual general meeting expenses used to be upwards of $500,000. Now with our new facility, it was down to just under $140,000 this year. There's been substantial decreases in cost.
Mr. Henry says, though, you also have a huge administration bill.
The administration generally comes from, in the past, there were certain areas that were funded through the federal and provincial government. With some of the economic changes, there's been some cutbacks, and unfortunately, some of these areas still need to be funded. So there's staff and ministries that are still being supported because we need to support our communities, and those staff still need to be present.
So what's your financial plan now to balance the books of your organization and get rid of this debt?
We're putting together currently a deficit recovery plan. We're working with a company. We've received some assistance from the federal government to get this going. This will be presented at our Métis Nation Governing Assembly, which we committed to doing at our annual general meeting, so this will be done in February. There's a political strategy. We've been meeting. We met with the Premier just a week and a half ago. We've met with various MLAs to talk to them about our current challenges as we're working to becoming self-sustainable. In the meantime, where can we receive support to keep these important services going for our Métis people?
And if you can't balance the books, then what? Where do you get your financial support?
For the first time ever, we have an opportunity. We have a building. We have a building that's worth funding. If it came to that, that's one possible solution. If we sold the building today, and, if we could sell the building, that would assist us in paying off the monies that we owe. But, we have a solid board of directors, a solid plan in place. We're moving forward, and revenue's already coming in from our businesses that we've started, and I'm fully confident in the Métis people that we're going to make this happen and move forward.
Melanie Langthorne, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Melanie Langthorne is the CEO of the Métis Nation of BC. 9 minutes to go now before 7 o'clock.